Welcome to our presentation about the life and philosophy of Thales of Miletus. The ancient Greek philosopher Thales was born in 624 BC and died in 546 BC. He was born in Miletus of Ionia. Miletus was a coastal city on the western coast of Anatolia, which is now modern-day Turkey. Let us refer to the picture there in the red box is where Miletus was. Thales was an early pre-Socratic philosopher, a mathematician, scientist, and astronomer that lived around 600 BCE, which is around 100 years before Socrates. He was renowned as one of the legendary 7 sages of Greece. The 7 sages or 7 wise men of Greece represents an aspect of worldly wisdom which is summarized in an aphorism. He is often considered as the father of Western philosophy. Thales founded the Milesian school and was believed to be the teacher of Anaximander. Aristotle credits him being the first philosopher. Herodotus records him as the first man to ever predict a solar eclipse before it happened. He was the first subscriber to materialism and naturalism in trying to define substances, of which all material objects were composed, which he identified as water. His innovative search for universality in the disciplines of mathematics, astronomy, and philosophy have earned him the label the first scientist. Although there are some details of Thales' life that are sketchy and often contradictory. Some reports suggest that he married and had a son, while some reports say that he did not. By correctly predicting the weather, he predicted a large olive crop within a particular year. He then bought all the olive presses in the city, making a lot of money when the fruit was finally harvested. His involvement in local politics is rather anecdotal in nature, but Thales apparently impressed both sides of the ongoing conflict between the Lydians, Medes, and Persians over the fate of the region of Ionia when he predicted an eclipse of the sun. In those days, eclipses were taken as an omen, which brought fighting to a standstill. Thales correctly predicted the year of the solar eclipse on the 20th of May, 585 BC. The Antikythera mechanism is an ancient Greek analog computer used to predict astronomical positions and eclipses for calendar and astrological purposes decades in advance. Now let's talk about Thales as a mathematician. Thales has been credited with the discovery of 5 geometric theorems. This is known as Thales' theorem. Now, let's move on to his philosophy. He searched for the physics of objects that cause them to behave in their characteristic way, and attempted to find naturalistic explanations of the world without reference to supernatural or mythological explanations. He explained earthquakes, for example, by hypothesizing that the earth floats on water and that earthquakes occur when the earth is rocked by waves. He claimed that water was the origin of all things, that from which all things emerge and to which they return, and moreover that all things ultimately are water. Now, let's talk about his beliefs in divinity. Thales believed that the very power to move things without the mover itself changing was a characteristic of life. In other words, a magnet is also alive in some way. If so, he argued that there is no difference between the living and the dead. When asked why he didn't die if there was no difference, he replied, because there is no difference. If all things were alive, they must also have souls or divinities. Accordingly, the sources say that Thales believed all things possessed divinities. However, Thales was looking for something more general, a universal substance of mind. The end result of this argument was an almost total removal of mind from substance, opening the door to an innovative, non-divine principle of action. His works. Thales of Miletus is said to have written on the solstice and on the equinox. However, none of the two works survived, and some doubt that he left any written works. All good things must come to an end. Thales' death. According to the Chronicle of Apollodorus of Athens, Thales died at the age of 78 during the 58th Olympiad and attributes his death to heat stroke while watching the games. Is this finally the end of our presentation? Sadly, yes. But before we go, here is a quote of Thales. The most difficult thing in life is to know yourself. That is it for our presentation. Thank you for watching and listening, and I hope you learned a lot from this video.